show you. I am blessed with the magic of snow today. It is snowing outside, and the kid in me is just so excited that I like want to run out and make, snow angels.
I did that yesterday. Oh
Yeah,
my God, it was amazing. Yeah, yeah. I
yeah.
took a dog for a walk and I was just playing in snow by myself. So that was pretty cool.
I think I saw some posts of you snowboarding too.
Yeah, also.
Okay, I want to do that with you someday. Okay.
And I was in the flow, like
Yeah,
apparently. Yeah.
of course you were. Hi, Tim, another rock star. So George, you're getting to see the face of what I call the rock star advanced pilots that are coming
I can't.
online. We got some
Yeah.
people as well. Zen just joined. Most of these newbies were introduced to us by Anya, so much appreciation for that. That's how this thing grows, organically. So it's really cool.
I've
Um,
met some people, Susan, that like on my podcast a couple days ago, I had some incredible individuals from what is the best way to do that? Should I have them apply?
yeah, yeah.
I'm getting the word out and I'm like, okay, you guys should come apply to this. I want to talk to you before I made any
No,
moves like that. I'm all about the
no,
organic
and
growing,
you
but
don't
how do we
you
do
don't
it?
need to.
Okay.
Just send them to our
Okay.
website, and
Okay. Okay.
if they feel inspired, tell them to apply and
Yes.
subscribe.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
totally.
thanks,
Okay.
George.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why it's really powerful that you are a pilot, and Zen just joined as well. He's a new pilot, and his partner Luba. And we have a lot of new, powerful people who are very well connected in what you do for a living. And so you're the ones who are kind of like the amplifiers, right? And you don't have to explain it. Just say, hey, go check this out, and tell them just what you love about it, like what's working for you, what you've noticed. This is what Anya has done. That's how you came. So um passion is what will radiate from you and just bring people in. And so thank you. All right, so we're just giving folks a few minutes, maybe 2 more minutes to come online, and what we're going to do is focus on the brand new pilots first. That would be you, George, and Casey, and of course Zen and Luba. um, and slowly others will join, because the format for these calls are, we start with the new pilots first, just go over the basics, and then that's not so interesting to the advanced pilots, so they just come in, they stream in as they wish, as the call unfolds. All right. And in the future, we're going to focus less on training and more on sharing. These are going to become free flow calls, right? Where it's more interactive, and we're going to let those of you who are more experienced even take the lead and like tell us about how this is really working for you, right? Okay. Um, and then we're going to tell you guys more about what's coming, that Mohan's working on, but we'll save that for a little later when we have more pilots on the call. Okay, so for those of you who are brand new, George, you already mentioned you're up and running, right? You have it. Do all of you actually have the application installed on your mobile phone? Nodding is good. Okay, Luba too. Okay. And don't know yet about Casey. Just seeing a really beautiful picture of a croissant with his looking through with his eyes. But when he's on, hopefully he can let us know if he's got himself installed. Okay, for Zen, Luba, and George, have you guys all watched a video that you were sent that shows you how to do the basics, like synchronize? How do
Yes,
you need to know how to synchronize the Garmin watch?
we did.
Yeah, it's all set
Excellent.
up, apps running. We've been running for 3.5 days so far,
Yes, awesome.
and had some great comparisons and conversations about,
Okay,
okay, why is this? You know,
okay. All right, got it. Okay, excellent. So you guys are really ahead of the game. This is awesome. It'll make this call way more meaningful. Casey, by the way, did let me know he doesn't yet have a device, but that's okay. This call is still going to be really helpful. And so that's the most important thing, guys, is setting up two things with your Garmin watch is this method by synchronizing either directly from the watch over Wi-Fi and also on the Garmin Connect application. There's a sync button, you know, in the top corner. Like doing both of those will accelerate the downloading of data from the watch to making its way to us where we analyze it, and only then can we give you feedback, right? And Garmin likes to hold on to the data because they're trying to conserve battery life. It's a normal self-interest thing. Apple Watch does the same. So it's you have to kind of push it out. So thank you for doing that. Then you can go and open the Token of Me mobile app and hit the sync button on the top corner. And that will also tell our system, hey, you know, I'm ready. You know, do you have anything? And if so, give me an update. So those are the most important tips on getting updates and having them be almost real time. You guys are going to notice there's usually at least a 10-minute delay because that's just really where the state of the art is right now with using a third-party hardware. We don't control it, you know, and getting it down and getting it analyzed. But that's pretty good. And it's actually a blessing in disguise not having real time, like real time, because we don't want you, you know, second guessing yourself and over like,
Nothing, yeah.
you know, like, you know, have you ever been in a state of flow? If you're performing and all of a sudden you get self-conscious, you lose it.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so that's actually a benefit that you can't have real-time feedback. All right, got it? Great,
Mhm.
good. You know, one of the things that Mohan's starting to work on, and we'll talk more about it later as well, but I'm just giving you kind of the tip of the Matterhorn here of where this is going, is the ability to notify you when certain highlights happen, like when you're really, so in case, you know, you're synchronizing, but you're not necessarily analyzing, we'd like to be a little more proactive and analyze the data behind the scenes and go, hey, come take a closer look at 11:30, you know, on January 10th, right? Like, and then you can go, oh yeah, what was I doing, you know, and really connect the dots.
Mhm.
So we're working on fine tuning these highlights, and
Speaking of
giving
connecting
you,
the dots, can I ask you a
yeah, and
question?
giving you feedback a little more proactively instead of passively, but you still have to synchronize. And as soon as, you know, so we're sort of defining proof of coherence and proof of resonance. And as we analyze a few of you today, we're going to show you using our advanced soul compass what would trigger proof of coherence and proof of resonance. What would mint a token, right? That's what this is all about. We're moving into the next chapter, and it's really exciting. And you know, it's what's going to cause this thing to take off when people start like really seeing that in this moment, my heart coherence or my resonance, you know, my heart sang. I resonated with my soul. My heart went into high heart coherence, and you get rewarded for that. Okay, but that's going to take us a little time. And also we've been having talks with different blockchain platforms. One of them is very passionate about us, and we're likely going to start experimenting on the Scale platform, and with it would come a grant. You know, they're very excited. and it's like a win-win. You know, we work with them and they get to support this brand new mechanism and utility token and reward token that doesn't exist yet. So that's what's coming. All right. Hi, Philip. Philip's here. He's one of our investors from Switzerland. Thank you for joining. Chris Coyne is normally always here, but he's at an event today. So but we can still look at his data since it's always so fun. And Andrea's here. Okay, so the other thing, just for the newbies, is if you haven't noticed that you can actually touch the screen, you know, like on the Soul Compass mobile app, if you touch your finger on the waveforms, you'll get a vertical line. Have you seen that? Okay, good. That's like a timestamp or a date stamp that will tell you exactly what time it was and what day it was when those metrics were experienced. So that's, and when something happens where all of the metrics are elevated, that's really what you're going for, is how to get ideally all of them to be, you know, elevated. And when that happens, take a snapshot and you can share it with the Telegram group, right? And tell us, how did that feel? What was happening? What were you doing? Were you meditating? Were you making love? Were you swimming? Were you just having a rampage of appreciation? Were you creating, right? Were you in a podcast? You know, what was the focus? So yeah, Philip says making love while swimming. Yes, that's possible. And who knows, you might get even higher, right, Philip? Speaking of podcasts, I did one with Philip just a few days ago, and it felt great. We both were flowing, and he's going to edit that and be sharing it with all of you. Well, with me, and then I'll share it with all of you. So we're starting to do more podcasts. I did one with George Monty as well. And yeah, there he is. And I shared a link with our Telegram group if you guys want to watch that. These podcasts are really helpful. It's helping us to articulate the value of what we're doing and what it can do for you. You know, what's the
And you're going to
benefit?
be on with me tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. I got one tomorrow with Zen. That's right, on Monday. So cool. All right, you see, there's like usually one a week now happening. It's starting to go. All right. And then, you know, again, back to the basics. Even if you don't have all three metrics elevated, the first place to really focus is the green line, allowance. Just notice what brings it up. See if you can just literally go for a walk in the forest or a meditation or just something really gentle, not too physically active. See if you can move the needle. Like that's the most basic thing, you know, because that's an indication of low resistivity, high allowance, and higher heart rate variability. Okay. So you can just focus on that. Like that. Sometimes that's all I really look for. That's enough. And I was recently at a Abraham Hicks live seminar in California. It was in LA, and it was really remarkable because she speaks for about an hour and then has a break and then speaks for an hour and then a break. And my metrics just like matched it perfectly. As soon as I'm just sitting there in the seminar, you know, metrics go up. At the break, I go down. Starts up again, I go up. Take a break, it goes down. You know, like, wow, really, really clear, accurate reflection. And that can happen to your listeners of these podcasts. That's the idea, is for them to go, hey, when I'm watching or participating in something like a podcast and my metrics go up, well, that's a great indication that what's being spoken is resonating with your heart and soul. It's closer to the truth, right? And if you have a really high peak in heart coherence, then that's a resonance with your soul. All right, enough talking. Any questions from the new pilots first before we start diving into some analysis? Maybe.
I have one.
Go ahead, Zen.
is there a web interface so that we can see an expanded version? Okay, good. I thought there was. I
Yeah.
just evidently don't know how to get there yet or
Yep.
missed
Yep.
the memo.
Yes. What we do is you're sort of in the new kid sandbox with training wheels.
Oh, goody.
And as you evolve and we play together, we invite people one by one into, the deep end of the pool, which is the web interface, the advanced soul compass.
Oh,
You're going to see
yeah.
it today. We use that for our training calls because you can see it all. You get to see the raw data. There's so much more that we can't show in a tiny, screen on a mobile phone.
Mhm.
So yes, you're going to see it today. If you like it, love it, you can subscribe to that. And that is going to be required for token minting, right? This is our business strategy to let people just kick the tires for 12 bucks a month, and see if they like it. And if they do, then they get invited to the advanced version, right? So it's just an easy way to let everyone play, and only those who really are resonating with it and really getting it would they even want to go further. And so it's just an easy way to have two different boxes for two different experiences. Yes, so hopefully
Okay.
you do want to.
So there's another price point for that then as well.
Yes, yeah, it costs more for us to run it as well, and especially once we start minting tokens, there's just a lot more moving parts and more value. Yeah,
Very
got
good.
it. It also, yeah, it just makes it by we obviously want to cover our costs, but we also want it to be valued because it is really valuable. And it also separates the people who really want to improve themselves,
Mhm.
because it's so valuable that it's priceless. Yeah. All right. Any more questions? No?
I'm having like a little bit of a problem getting my information. I don't like I feel like it's synced up,
Hmm.
but like the lag time
Yeah.
is pretty significant for me. And like sometimes it'll completely drop off. So I don't know if I'm being disconnected or if there's just no data for that day. It could be a failure to thoroughly connect on my side, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I mean, Mohan, you can talk about this, but we are experiencing some delays. There are some
Okay.
instances where there might be a few hours of delay. I experienced that as well. And we think it's our third party partner, Terra, who's pulling the data from Garmin and formatting it for us. But there's also some changes that we made to the mobile app that I believe are possibly contributing to the delay. So um, Victoria says hers is stuck on the 18th. Okay, so hers is 3 days behind. Yikes. Hi, Victoria. Nice to see you. She's new as well. Super.
Great to see you too, Susan. And
Yeah.
everybody.
So, Victoria, are you syncing the Garmin?
Yeah, I'm doing like
Yeah, the sync over Wi-Fi. Okay, good.
sync over Wi-Fi, and then I hit like
Yeah,
that
right
button
there.
here.
Right. Would you
So
mind?
after you sync over Wi-Fi, you would get a notification on the mobile application that there's new data available.
Yeah, I've seen it
So
before.
it will take some time. So if you click the refresh on the mobile app, it might not work. But just if you haven't got the notification in probably like 30 minutes or hours time, you could try just syncing once more, and then you just get it like in the immediate instance.
Oh, I have it now until 8:50 this morning. I X'd out
Okay.
of the app and went back into it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Another thing that you can do if it's really getting behind, you guys know how to just close the app, right? Just swipe it up or however it works on Android is probably different, but close it and reopen it. And that usually will cause a reset, or it will pull the data automatically to usually up to date. So that's another tip. Did I freeze? Okay. Sorry if I froze. It's snowing outside, so I've got my Starlink heater working, but I've never had a call during a snowstorm. Exciting. All right. Victoria, do you have any questions? What we're going to do next is kind of dive in, but if you have any basic questions, this is a good time to start.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. So with these metrics, what I'm basically looking for all of them to be uptrending and as close together as possible, or overlapping, or
Yeah,
close.
I spoke about this at the beginning, but I'll just say it maybe a little differently. Is you're looking for the metrics to rise, okay? And a exceptional experience is when all three are elevated at the same time. But that being said, it's not necessarily the only thing that matters. If you watch the green line allowance and just notice, when does it go up? Like, just, when you can get it to turn direction. Pretty much all the pilots on this call have figured out that if you just go into a meditation, inevitably it goes up. If you're in a call, a podcast, or really focused in a conversation with someone that is feeling uplifting and joyful and satisfying, or if you're focused in creativity, not being exceptionally physical about it, but mostly mental and emotional, being in that sweet spot, you will notice allowance, the green line, will start to rise. Keeping in mind that it's an average. So, also it takes time, just because like maybe you got goosebumps all of a sudden, it's not going to go, it's not going to change on a dime. You will see that in the advanced soul compass, which we're going to show you guys. You're going to see examples of when there's a surge in your source energy flow, right? When you have high heart coherence, which we are not yet displaying on the mobile app. It just is far trickier to do this on the mobile app than the web interface. Okay, any other basic questions? And then, if many of you already have your name and email in our test system to analyze you, but those of you who are brand new, as we go through this, we're going to start with some of the advanced people like Anya and Tim and Birgit, Philip too, if you're open. We're going to start with them, and then you can kind of see their metrics and let them talk about their experience of these elevated experiences. And then if you want to do it, we can analyze you in real time. We would just need you to send Mohan, who's on the call, a private chat with your email address associated with your account. And then what he does is he adds you manually to our advanced soul compass backend for our test system. It won't work for you yet on your own, but we could at least look at it together in this call. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the explanation. I joined a couple of minutes into the call, so I might
no
have
worries,
missed
no
it.
worries, no worries, Victoria. Also,
Can I ask one more?
Yeah, go ahead.
Power. My power is usually high most of the day. What does that one represent?
Yeah, so that'll
paper.
make more sense as we give some examples today and we dive in. But it is your total heart power, and it's a trending average, which is why it hangs pretty high and does not fluctuate as much. This is quite likely going to change. We've been experimenting
Whenever it's high, it simply means you're at or above your baseline. So whenever you have a trending average baseline of let's say a particular period of time, which is about almost like half a day, and if you are consistently at your baseline or above it, you're going to see it at 100.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
with the heart power, the only time to be particularly concerned is when it drops dramatically, right?
Mhm.
At this point, because it's your baseline and it's you compared to you, not anybody else.
Thank you.
Okay, Michaela, we have another brand new pilot. She's welcome to our call. Do you have it running on your cell phone yet? Yeah? Okay, fantastic.
Sorry, I was looking for my unmute button.
No, I just
Yes.
unmuted. Yeah, great. You figured it out. So you are
Yes.
running on your mobile app as well.
Yes, since 6 weeks or 2 months
Okay.
almost.
Okay, good. Great. Good. That's good to see
Yeah.
you here. Um,
Yeah, good to
all
see
right.
you too. I wanted to join earlier, but yeah.
All right. It's all right. So, for those people who have recently subscribed, we have set up where you get an email with our black paper, a link to our black paper that can help you research a little bit more about what's behind the metrics, with the understanding that they are a little evolving. So, for instance, it doesn't yet talk about heart power, but that's okay. It's still a really helpful document. So, on your own, feel free to read about that, and hopefully you have it by email. If not, I can put it in the chat box here for you to find and read later on your own. Okay. All right. Without any further ado, any of the advanced pilots want to go first? Do you have a date that we could talk about and analyze together? And
Yes, Susan. Um, it's me, Anya. Can you check yesterday?
yeah, absolutely. Okay, let me
Thank you.
pull up the advanced soul compass, and then I'll share my screen as soon as I pull up Anya. Thanks for being the pioneer that you are. She
And thank you,
has,
Anya, for introducing us too.
yeah,
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. I love doing this.
it's obvious. Of all the pilots we have, I think Anya has referred the most people so far. Not that it's a comparison or a race, but it's really noticeable. Okay, guys, so here's the advanced soul compass. It's a web interface, and it's a test version, so some of these things you won't yet see on your side, but that's okay. So here's Anya. Look at this, Anya. Did you wear it to, no, you didn't wear it to bed. Looks like you started wearing it around 12 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, because my battery probably died. But I see, yeah, where the heart power goes up. That was the time when I was playing in the snow.
Wow, look at that. Like, that's huge. If that happened while you were being really physical, that's pretty significant. So starting at 145, it looks like right here.
Yeah.
So for the brand new people, let's start with heart rate. Just here's basic heart rate in the time domain. And if we look at Anya at around 145, what we notice is her heart rate is trending down. And that is really significant, especially if she's being physical. Because as you know, when you're physical, your heart rate usually goes up. But if you're really in a flow state and you're surrendering and you're just maybe even skiing down the mountain, right? And with very little effort, your heart rate will go down and your heart power will go up. And so let's talk about what heart power is. And then I'm just going to give the basics and then have Anya actually talk about the emotional and mental experience and spiritual experience. The heart power is your heart information in the frequency domain we literally calculate the component frequencies, high frequency, low frequency, very low frequency. These are the three frequencies. And when they rise, and usually it's together, that's when your true power is actually rising. You're allowing more of this vital energy to flow through you. And just, I'm going to go down a little bit more, because what you can see is this is heart rate variability, the green line. It's very similar to the green allowance line on the mobile app. A little more complete here because we're looking at 3 different calculations. But in particular, just look at this. You can see this, how it rises and falls, right? She's got some variation going on. And these are coherence bars. So this is kind of what what we're going for is, when are you experiencing true coherence? And she's got like 3, different experiences, 2 of which are importantly bundled together. So do you want to tell us what that felt like to have this much coherence?
Yeah, I just checked my photos on my phone. So yeah, yesterday I was actually in the snow, like on the snow with my son and my dog, and we were just, like we were just jumping and having snow fights, and it was insane. It was incredible. So just connecting with my inner child, I guess. So yeah,
I mean,
that's
look at
awesome.
this. This is your total heart power rising pretty significantly over just a few hour period, right?
Yeah.
So just having fun, guys. Can you believe it? I mean, I'm just going to stop sharing for a second and really focus on, I think the key message that I resonated with, Anya, is having fun. A lot of people think you have to work hard, and effort your way into a flow state, but that never works. So Anya just
And
showed
yet you
us.
still can enjoy flow in that state.
Say again, Zen?
I said, and yet you still can enjoy flow in that state.
In the state of fun? Yeah.
Yeah, well, and the fun and the state of work too.
Yeah.
That, turns more into a clerk, I guess, kind of a combination of play and work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the ultimate goal, is to figure out how to focus on whatever your work is in a way that is fulfilling and fun and satisfying, and feeling empowering and rewarding. Because if it's not, you're really just going against yourself, and there's no joy, there's no satisfaction. Yeah. So cool, Anya. That's awesome. Oh, good. Oh yeah, good. We got Zen. You've been added, Zen. You ready? And Lubov, you guys want to,
Sure.
let's dive in.
Oh,
So
yeah, why not?
you've been wearing it for a few days. Which day would you like us to look at?
How about the first day?
Oh, no,
Why
the
not?
first day. It was a mess the first day.
Which day would that be?
Oh, gosh, 17th maybe?
Okay, I'll pull it up. All right, so pulling it up. Give me a second.
So I started the morning at 8 a.m. doing a video shoot, or kind of directing a video shoot.
Yeah, you can see at 8 a.m. is right about here. No, that's p.m. Were you wearing it in the morning? We
Yeah.
only 6:45. Okay, wait, let me look at it this way. I'm not seeing morning data for the 17th. I'm only seeing.
So let's try 18th then.
Okay.
We didn't get it until after 6.
All right.
Well, yeah, I wore it to the shoot that morning.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
There we go. That happens sometimes.
Okay.
There's a lot of data we're cranking through. Oh, look at this. So yeah. So what you can see, looks like you started wearing it at 4:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. What'd you do at 4:30? Did you do a meditation or sleep some more?
No, I
Hmm.
grabbed a cup of coffee and got to work.
Got it. So what you can see here, Zen, is you see how your heart power is elevated, but then it drops
Mhm.
down and then it comes back up again and comes back down again. So this would, if I were
Time
you,
is
I
7
would be asking
o'clock.
myself, what did I do in these hours between, you know, like 8:15 and 12?
So the 18th was what day?
17th.
17th. That was Thursday,
Yeah, is that
correct?
Thursday?
So that would have been
No,
the video
Wednesday. That's
shoot.
Wednesday. The 17th is Wednesday. I know it's hard
Okay.
to go back in time, but like that is when you had your highest rise while awake, not sleeping, in heart
Mhm.
power, and some heart rate variability and some coherence. You see, these are the ones that matter the most right here.
At 9:30, I did a podcast recording.
Okay, there you go. So starting at 9:30.
And early in the morning is when I do my postings. So my show airs on or goes live on Wednesday mornings.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually spend time doing distribution. And then
So
I had a
like
podcast interview.
so this part is just maybe efforting, or just
Could be.
kind of, I call it just technical stuff, and
That, and I also take a break during that time to make breakfast for
okay,
uh,
yeah, it could be
mother-in-law
just
and
that. It could be just
yeah,
that, right? Just being more focused physically, requiring more effort in your body to make breakfast, go for a walk.
yeah.
You see how just that subtle of a difference can actually be reflected as heart power coming down. But then when you are less effortful with higher allowance, you also look at your heart rate. You can see how it really came down, and then you have these jumps, right? You got
Mhm.
two kind of spikes. This is effort. This is like heart beating faster. That's what that is, obviously. And typically, when your heart rate goes up, your heart power goes down. And so hopefully you can see the correlation, right? Heart power going up
Mhm.
here, heart rate going up, and heart power going down.
Mhm.
Very, very common correlation. And that may seem contradictory and paradoxical, but if you've ever watched yourself or somebody else in a flow state, it's effortless. They're
Mhm.
not even breaking a sweat, and yet, they're at peak performance. So what we think is happening in a flow state, which you can show yourself is happening during deep meditation or whatever you're doing here when it goes up, um, is you're really trusting yourself and allowing divine energy do the heavy lifting, do the work.
Okay.
You're more inspired instead of being motivated and disciplined and pushing, the parts around.
Right.
Just trusting yourself, trusting universe, that it's all coming together as if by magic. And that's what flow often feels like, is magic.
Sure. Well, there's a certain element of setup, right? You got to prepare.
Yeah, the preparation is more of your alignment, your focus. And you can see that even this is a nice gentle rise, right? Later in the
Mhm.
day. And that correlates with more coherence bars. So these coherence bars, guys, okay, this is kind of new. What I'm about to say is what Mohan's working on right now. Is every one of these that, like this is what we're considering. Every time you have a coherence bar that rises above 70%, these are your rewards. Okay? Like it won't take long for you to go, what was I doing at 11:10 or 1:10 or 3:40 in the afternoon? Right? And it's a work in progress too, right? This is just our first step. We're still early. This is our very first attempt to connect the dots with you. But then we need you to give us feedback to go, yeah, that makes sense. I was,
Well, that 11:10, right, Mark? I
Yeah.
was deep in the elevated portion of an already elevated conversation.
amazing, amazing. Yeah, you can see that. And the way you can see it, obviously, we summarize it by giving you a very tangible bar at that was your highest moment of the day, right? That's when you hit 100%. Oops. And if that happens, guys, you just hit get results again. Right? And you can see your heart rate variability was also very high at that time. And probably more importantly, your heart power was at its peak at that moment. And if we had your sleep data, usually this happens, when this happens, it's higher than your sleep levels. And you guys will notice if you wear this while you're sleeping, all your metrics are going to be high because you're not thinking, you know, consciously. You have no resistance, and but you don't have momentum either. That's why we're not going to reward sleep. So what we can do now, if you want, we can look at, is it Lubov? You want us
Luba.
Lubov?
Luba.
Okay.
Luba. L-U-B.
L-U-B.
B-A.
L-U-B-A.
A. Luba.
Okay. Mohan, you'll have to
love
fix
in
that
Russian,
one. I
so
think
I
he
believe
calls
not
you
the-
Lubov. Let me see if that works.
Well, it's my full name, but
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm going to use your full name because that's what Mohan activated.
okay. Okay.
You have a special,
Lubov. Is it the right way to spell your name, Luba?
yes.
I just got it
I
from
prefer a nickname to the full name. It's L-U-B-A.
Okay. Well,
But it's okay. It's okay either way. It's okay.
it
either
works.
way.
I have it working right now as your official name. So if it's okay,
Okay,
just for
that's
now,
fine,
we'll
that's
use it.
fine.
We can change it.
Yeah,
Do you have a
that's
day
fine.
in mind, Luba?
How about yesterday, Saturday?
Yesterday. Okay, let's look at
Yes.
yesterday. Look, here it comes. So up in the right corner, it's running. Oh, wow. Yeah, look at that. Okay, so starting around 9 o'clock, you were wearing, you can see here the time stamp, 9 o'clock,
Yeah.
your local time. You
Mhm.
were wearing it, and you had this, do you see this really gentle rise all day long?
Mhm.
And then even like, I wouldn't even call this a dip. You're just holding steady. Do you see that?
Yes.
Like all day long, you don't have a tremendous amount of ups and downs, but you can still see the strong moment. The strongest moment is right here, right?
Mhm.
And then as we scroll below, that correlates with your peak, a very high peak in heart rate variability. I mean, this 180 stands for milliseconds between beats. That's very high. Usually anything above 100 is a peak heart
Mhm.
rate
Wow.
variability, and you had almost double that. What happened at say
I was just
2:30?
resting after my after teaching all this time. I was teaching in the morning, starting at 10
Yeah.
until 1:30, and then I was just resting.
Wow. just
Yeah.
allowing
Yeah.
all day long,
Yeah.
right? In a state of allowance. Look at your heart rate. You see how you really are in a like a steady state of
Oh,
allowance all day.
that's great.
Well, that peak at first is when she's doing her exercising.
Oh, yeah, that was exercising. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, right here was maybe right after, right? Exercise
Mm.
probably went down, but then went up
Mm-hmm.
right after. Now,
Mhm.
something I just want to show, I'm going to show it, and then I'm going to have maybe Mohan talk about it. Is here's what can seem a little confusing at first, and we're working on it. I mean, when you look at this, you go, okay, that was obviously looks like my highest point. And as I scroll down, that looks like it as well. And so I was expecting that to be your highest coherence bar, right?
Mhm. Oh, wow.
But it's not.
Mhm.
It shows greater coherence earlier
I was
when you
teaching.
were gently pressing, right? And so I'm
Yeah.
gonna let Mohan take a stab at explaining why that might be, because I'm a little surprised myself. I would have thought this is when you're gonna have the biggest coherence,
Me too. Mhm.
because it visually looks like the most.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we're up.
So yes, I would like to slightly correct you.
Okay, please do.
We are using the total power and the STNN, which is total power is not only the HF, it's all three combination.
Okay.
So if you look at the
Oh yeah,
frequency
you're
graph,
right.
other
Yeah, look at
than
that.
total power, it's dipping. So it's
Yeah.
easier to get tricked by visually like
Yeah.
looking at a graph and assuming something.
Yeah.
That's why we have a mathematical way of representing,
Yeah.
what's the underlying mechanism that gives the bar.
Yeah. Do you guys hear what he's saying? Like, see how this is obviously really high, your what we call high frequency power, but your low frequency power was going down. They were going in opposite directions at
Wow.
that time. And so it has an effect of canceling them out.
Mhm.
Um,
I have a question about that.
what's
I'm
that?
just wondering, because I've noticed sometimes too that, one's the high is going up and then some of the lows are going down. Or I've even noticed times when the two higher heart power bars are going up and then the low is going down. Like, is it helpful to start to kind of keep track of that? Like what makes them add all together? And then other times when, like you're saying, it looks from the peak of the high value that it should be a coherence bar, but the other ones are subtracting.
Is that you, Andrea, that's asking a question?
Yeah, I'll turn on my video, sorry.
No, I just wanted to make sure I knew who was speaking. It's still kind of a mystery to us as well. And the reason is, there's a lot of research looking at these different frequencies. And if depending on the study you read, there are some that will say, oh, the high frequency, well, that's your sympathetic, and the low frequency is your parasympathetic. And, if they're both rising or if one's dominant, they have all these theories, right? And they're very head trippy theories. And they often, depending on the study you read, you'll even get contradictions. So we're not gonna probably dive deep into that dialogue about it. I think it's not as linear as scientists would like it to be. They would like it to be black and white. Oh, well, when high frequency is going up and low frequency is going down, well, then you're stressed. I mean, we think that's like kind of what Garmin's doing. These guys are almost thinking too hard about the ratio, and they're being overly simplistic about one means sympathetic, one means parasympathetic. And as I said, what we've realized, we have not seen a correlation in about a year's time. We've been experimenting for about a year with pilots, and we're just not seeing conclusive results. So we're not chasing that anymore.
So at the same time, we can still see that the metrics are adding them together to get to the coherence bar. So it's a matter of total power
Right.
versus making distinctions about what the lines are doing.
Right.
In a way.
We've decided, and it might change over time. Because like I said, this looks a little confusing, it's sort of, is it true, or are we fooling ourselves? We're still, that's why we need the feedback. We would want Luba to tell us, like know herself so well to say, you know what, it does make sense, because that wasn't my high point of the day. It was earlier. I definitely felt more empowered earlier. And like that's what we're trying to figure out with intelligent pilots, is giving us that feedback, because we don't want you to get lost in the details of one's up, one's down. We're like, you know what, let's just add it up. Let's not say that this heart frequency is more important than this one.
Mhm.
So we're kind of decided, and it's just our current strategy. But as I said, if you guys gave us feedback, Andrea, if you and Luba and everybody else, as we start notifying you of these coherence bars, and you then go log in and go, yeah, that kind of makes sense, but I know myself, and the high point of my day was actually this other moment. Then we would go back to the drawing board and go, okay, let's experiment. Do you see how we're doing it with you guys? We want this really important feedback. Yes, it's subjective, but you guys are advanced in this. You're that's why you can't just go to the Apple Store and download this app. It's not open to the public. We have handpicked you guys, and you picked us, to help us crack the code, because we know that what's been said before about coherency, like, let me just kind of go back to the drawing board here for a minute. If you were to talk to HeartMath and others, they would say, unequivocally, they would say, this is it. There you go. End of story. Your heart rate peaked at this point. That's coherence. They don't differentiate between heart rate variability and what we're looking for, which is the truth. Is it the truth? Was this Luba's highest coherent moment of her day? It sure looks like it, right? The old world would mislead her and tell her that. But what we're looking for is the feedback where Luba says, you know what, this is amazing. It's true. While that was a nice experience, this was even better. I felt way more empowered and coherent earlier in the day. Do you see why?
So here's from, if I may,
Yeah, go for it.
I can kind of validate some things because I'm outside watching rather than being inside and experiencing.
Yeah.
Which is what she was doing. So during that period of the early coherence of the day, she was teaching and and she's a piano teacher. She goes really deep with these kids, and she's in varying levels of presence with them depending on what the kids are receptive to in the moment. And some of them she's managing their attention.
Yeah.
Others she's working with their depth of understanding. So that's where her skill set, her love, and what she does kind of coalesce. In the afternoon, frankly, we just had lunch, paused for the day, had a puff, and we're talking about Token of Me.
Okay, cool.
That was my high point, I guess.
Literally, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's possible, and only Luba, you can really know more than anybody, is which part of the day felt the most coherent, felt easier, felt more satisfying.
The teaching or the
No, the relaxing and
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And we
that's
were going deep with what it was
Yeah.
might be able to help us do. We have this really wonderful depth of conversation in our relationship that we really strive to see where we can grow. And
right.
like for instance, there was some disparity in the um, allowance or allowing between us, and which begged the question,
Yeah.
what are we not allowing?
Uh-huh. Right.
So
Yeah, it gets even trickier when you start to compare yourselves to each other. I actually don't recommend it too much between couples. George, are you
we're doing it
laughing?
all the time anyway.
I know, I know. Well, you guys are evolved, so you can handle it without, hurting your own feelings or each other.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
Oh yeah, we're way beyond that.
the evolution here is the calibration and the metrics are more about you calibrating to you as opposed to what your loved one might
Yeah.
expect of
You
you.
doing you
Yeah, you doing
at your
you.
best, right?
And guys, this is a game changer, right? Because it can often disrupt relationships when you start to listen to your own heart and follow what is what you truly want versus what your partner might want of you. So anyway, that's all I want to say about that. Because
Hey, Susan, I got a quick comment on that.
go ahead, George.
Maybe when you look, can you go back to the graph and show where her spike was?
Yeah, sure, of course. Yep.
Okay, so maybe instead of it being a high point, maybe the part in which we're looking for coherence is too small. Maybe it's not just that spike right there. If you go down to the third chart, you can see where yes, the 3 bars right there where she's super high on the coherence.
Yep.
Maybe that's a necessary part of the small part. Like maybe it's too small of a chunk. Maybe that high rate is not the high point. Maybe it's like a longer part of that spike. Maybe it's a pattern instead of a spike.
Sure.
Does that kind of make sense? Like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
seems to be a higher measurement. Like if you just take in this one time slot, it seems to me it could be a much better accurate understanding of coherence if you take a bigger snapshot of it. Maybe
Yes.
we're looking for a pattern instead of a spike.
Yep, yeah, absolutely. You're right. You're right. And we're still looking, we're still looking. And what
Well,
I'm,
objectively as well, that would demonstrate flow. The more consistent
yeah,
that is, where those
right.
um, lines are interwoven, I suppose, is what you're looking for.
Well, what I'm taking away from this, and I intuitively felt it as well, is, when you're actively presenting or teaching, and doing it with others, and especially if she's teaching kids, and really trying to focus on that, this is impressive that her heart power is rising during this whole time. You can see allowance is low.
She's an impressive woman, trust me.
I can tell, yes. If you go for a run and you get really effortful, don't be surprised that your allowance might hit the ground. It's because as your heart rate, you see how if your heart rate's really elevated, there's less time and space between the beats, and so your allowance and even heart rate variability, since they're similar, are both going to be low or dropping. And so when you relax and you have this conversation, right, without resistance or with less resistance, you're going to rise like this. And the fact that one of these went down is a little harder for us to interpret, but I'm taking away from this conversation that at the very least, this is perhaps skewing the results in a way that we did not intend. You know what I'm saying? This is also going back to by including it in the averaging or in the total, and therefore negating each other or discounting each other. It's perhaps misleading in the total view. In addition to what I hear Zen and saying, and that is we need to look for the patterns also leading up to it. It's not just this moment. the pattern leading up to it is very informative because everything's rising together, and that's what gives rise to this interpretation of coherence, right? These bars here.
You know
So
what? It kind of if you look at the way in which earthquakes happen, there tends to be tremors, and you can look at the way earthquakes are sort of the heartbeat of the planet. Like I
yeah,
bet you could look at some of like seismic activity and measure it against that and find similar patterns for that. Because I bet you there's coherence with that.
well,
Well, the random number generator as well.
a resonant experience, right? That moves mountains. It's so powerful, right? So sure, something is happening that causes a resonance, and then the physical reality to ripple and move. Yeah, that definitely. So yeah, guys, we're all pioneers, and we really appreciate all of you because you're helping us to figure this out. We're still in discovery mode, which is why it's not publicly available yet. And we really value your subjective feedback. We want to know, how did this feel emotionally? And did you feel blissed out? Did you feel satisfied? Were you feeling more allowing, less resisting, right? So anyway, I really appreciate this, Luba, because this conversation is going to have a valuable effect on how we look at coherence, right? Because we believe we might be discounting one of your coherent states, and we captured the coherence during the teaching, which is great. We got that pattern, but we don't want to miss the moment of your highest truth, your highest coherent state. Alrighty then. All right, who else? We got. Let me look at the chats. I've been missing.
We've got
Okay,
Victoria added. We've
you
got
added Victoria.
George and George.
Okay. Okay, Andrea. Okay, I've got a couple of you guys lined up. So Andrea will get you on the 15th, if that's what you're asking. I want to answer Victoria's question. The coherence bar that you're seeing on this advanced interface is not, I repeat, it is not the coherence you're seeing on the mobile app. And that's just because the mobile app we developed like over a year ago, and it lags in what we're able to see. The advanced interface is something that is Mohan has created as a dashboard to analyze more deeply the data, and we can do that very quickly and easily and inexpensively. But to make it roll out to the mobile app is a very expensive step. And we're still seeking funding to help us, close the gap, but we're not there.
Also, it's more rapidly iterative in a lot of things you see on the dashboard is something that we, decide on, okay, let's do this, and we quickly experiment and have it showcased in a call. And most of it may not be actually implemented in the mobile application. Only some of it might. For example, the current version of hard power, earlier we had a different metric called balance, and later we discovered with a few different experimentation that hard power is something that's more powerful and more significant. So it's just like the advanced version is like the dashboard is the first step, where it's our experimental research sandbox, and that's also the goal why we have a call to discuss different metrics, showcasing you, analyzing you, so that we can learn what we can bring down to the mobile app.
I'm just muting a few of you. There was some feedback. Okay, Victoria, I'm going to do you if you're ready.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead, Andrea.
I had a really powerful experience a few weeks ago, but I just realized that my data is gone. And I'm just wondering if you have on the back end a way for me to get those screenshots, because I really want that for my future research. I just didn't have the wherewithal to actually look at it during that time. But now I do. So, but now it's gone. So I'm just wondering
Are
if you
you
have in your system.
are you an
Could you
advanced?
tell the date?
Yeah, what date?
Yeah, I'm advanced.
Okay.
It was pretty much December 26th to like January 4th, but
Okay.
it's gone.
So Andrea Gray, Andrea with a AY? Trying to remember. Is it Mohan for Andrea? Is it just her first name?
Just let me just quickly check.
I'm not trying to
Yeah,
budge
it's
in line. I
Andrea
just was
Gray.
wondering if there
Okay,
is a
got
way
it.
to
Andrea
get
Gray.
the data.
So Andrea, I can see it, but then the test version uses different data. Is that right, Mohan? So she can't
Yes.
see it.
I will make some screenshots and send it over to you, Andrea, on Telegram.
Okay.
So from January 6th to 4th, sorry, December 26th to 4th of Jan, right?
Yeah, maybe a little bit later than the 4th of January, like a little longer.
I tell
Okay,
you what,
you just give me the date ranges and
yeah,
I'll send you
yeah.
over the
Oh,
screenshots.
that would be awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, just write to Mohan directly to get that. I'm seeing the 26th. It's is that the date you want to start with, or is there a different day?
Yeah, you don't have to go over it per se. I was just wondering if
How you do
I
it.
don't want to budge in line. I just wanted to make sure I would be able to get that because it was
Yeah.
like
Yeah. We're also
pretty
making some
crazy.
changes in the coming weeks so that we will save your data more longer than we currently do. So considering, we have, this request for the first time, it makes more sense that we keep saving for our pilots future references.
I'm just,
Thank
while
you
we're
so
talking,
much.
I'm just scrolling through a few days, and then we're going to look at Victoria next. But just so you guys know, like I'm using a test version, and it's pulling data differently than what you're pulling. And there's a lot of work behind the scenes, guys, without going into details, how and where we get the data, and how we store it, and whether or not we do store it. So it's that's why there is a cost, because there are other parties involved, and there are costs involved to keep these up and running. So I'm willing to, we could deep dive on one of these days, Andrea, and then you could work with Mohan directly to analyze all of them independently. Here's the 28th.
Oh, um,
Just wondering if you have one day in particular that you really believe was the most significant.
well, actually on the 20, on the, sorry, the, just trying to think, 30,
And
I think it was the 20, one sec.
nope, it's not the 29th. See how that one's not so significant.
Yeah, so on the, actually on the 29th and 30th, I kind of like, what I did was I literally burnt myself out. Like the Garmin showed that I went to like 45 body battery, then down to 5. And then the next day it started at 29 and went down to 5. And I basically went into like almost like a death type of ending of this cycle of energy that I had.
Okay.
Which has happened before, but it was just interesting to be able to capture that. So I would say probably the few days, the 26th, 27th, 28th would have a chance, or 27th. I
Okay.
still actually had some body battery that maybe would have showed some good stuff.
Oh, you mean body
Um,
battery on Garmin Connect? Got it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I use, for those of you who know what we're talking about, it's fun to look at Garmin Connect and see what it says about like your sleep or your body battery. And what we've noticed, or I've noticed over a year using it, is it's very, very physical. That even if I'm in cold temperature versus the desert, literally if I sleep in warmer temperature, it thinks I had a great night's sleep, and it gives me all sorts of rest bars. But if I'm here and it's snowing outside, that alone, it interprets as, oh, you're not recovering as well. Because when you're cold, your heart rate goes up, right? To keep you warm. So it's incredibly physically based. I would not rely on body battery too much with the Garmin because they don't look at you spiritually or emotionally. It's all physical. So this is you. We'll look at you for a minute here on the 27th. And, this is you sleeping. Heart power is higher. And then waking up, it's coming down. And it's just holding steady, right? Not necessarily rising, but not falling either during your day. And you have a significant heart coherence earlier in the day, keeping in mind that this can happen when everything's dropping, right? Because your heart rate might be going up as it is. See, if heart rate's going up, you'll have heart rate variability, but not necessarily in the restorative sense that we're looking for. And so you do have a little bit of coherence. You have more in the afternoon, closer to 6 o'clock at night, but you're sort of sprinkled throughout the day. You got, and the reason is you're sort of steady. You're just, do you remember that day being a relatively steady day or significant?
Well, I had a pretty steady period from the 26th to the 30th of like being very active in my space and like reorganizing it according to my highest vision, like making my second room a particular space for creativity. And so I was having all these ideas and creating the space and being creative and also making little innovations. So I was being very creative, but I was also walking around a lot and I was at home.
Yeah. Yeah, and you guys listening, you can kind of see that. You see, if you are being physical, your heart rate's going to go up, and it sort of stayed pretty steady and elevated, and only, as you get ready for bed, it comes back down again. If you had done a meditation or something deeply allowing it, your heart rate would come down, right? And then come back up, and your heart power would be elevated during that same period. That's the common experience we're seeing. So that's why it can be tricky. It may not be a flow state, but you are in a high, do you remember if you had high allowance during this? I'm looking at your.
Oh, it's on the other
on
app.
the mobile app, I'm looking at here. This is a flavor of allowance. It's a very specific version. It looks up and down. Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't tracking it very well, but what I learned was to start tracking it a lot better. Like it inspired me to start, because it just takes it takes a while sometimes to integrate it fully into my life, and be like, oh, the value of this and the real value of that. And I'm seeing that, and just wanting to track it more because
I'm gonna show you guys something really quick, and then I'd like to do Victoria next, and Philip, if you're still game, do you too. The very first time I really noticed something dramatic happening was on September 20th, I believe. Yeah, here we go. I'm gonna share this, guys, with you, okay? All right. And I'm going to bring this up because, like, when you're, like, I'm going to also talk about Luba and her experience with Zen and how, when you're actively being creative and teaching and engaged or hosting a podcast or speaking in a podcast, these things may actually cause your heart rate to go up. And it may seem confusing because your heart power and heart rate variability and everything doesn't look elevated. And all that means is you're actually being effortful. right? With some resistance, with some pushing or some convincing or some proving. Um, and it's a different energy than when you're just completely immersed in a state of bliss with no effort and no resistance. And when that does happen, though, and this is similar to what Luba and Zen were talking about when they were talking about Token of Me. I was sharing at this moment in time how this all got started. I had 2 visitors that are pilots that were physically here with me, and we just went into a time-stopping experience. And that's when heart rate can drop to like half. Like that's about half my resting heart rate. And I am awake, and I am talking about love and bliss and what's coming and what started this. And I was just in a state of pure thought, no effort, no resistance. Heart, it's like a time-stopping moment. A flow state is it can change your sense of time. And if it's triggered by an emergency, for instance, people will tell you it's as if everything goes into slow motion. So you are now at a frequency that is extremely high with your divine self. And so you're less physically focused. So your heart rate goes way down. And that's these incredibly high peaks of resonance that can be witnessed in heart power and in HRV and in coherence that we're looking for. Okay. So this is what will become proof of resonance, these incredibly peak states. And we're looking for you guys to let us know when this happens to you. And you're going to get a notification this is what we're working on right now, is calculating this on your behalf behind the scenes and sending you a notification to say, Andrea, come look at the, log in, or Tim, Philip, Anya, come, look now, right? Because at 11:30 on this date, there was a peak. And then we would love for you to post your experience and tell us yes or no, this makes sense. I was not only being, in your case, Andrea, really creative and, creating creative space. I was done creating it. I sat down in it and went into a high state of allowance and immersed myself in this beautiful space of love that I created for myself, right? Like ideally, you would help us recognize these higher states and the subtle difference between the effort that might be involved in creating that experience and then when you finally relax into it. Does that make sense, guys? Like that's kind of what we're looking for, is this distinguishing difference between what many of us might think is a flow state because, well, I'm focused on my creativity, or I'm creating the space, or I'm doing something that I love. That may be true, but what you're really looking for is the sweeter state, the sweet spot of, I got there, I'm there, and I'm not fooling myself.
So would those sweet spots, though, be present? Ultimately, the goal, I guess, would be to be in that state no matter the level of activity, from stillness to high activity, right? Because
of course, Zen. I don't, point me to someone. I want to hire them immediately if someone can really do what you just said, right? Like that's of course the highest goal. But what we're discovering and what I'm looking to you guys to help us discover is the finer truth between when you tell yourself it's happening versus when it's really happening. And it's usually not all the time. I mean, that's because we're sort of measuring this higher altitude. And, you know, I'm reminded, like, you know, if you ever watch a tennis open tournament, everyone in the tournament is advanced, but it's yet a whole another level, right, of dramatic difference. They're not all the same, right? They're not all flowing all the time. And so even though the goal would be to figure out how to be in that state more often and hold it longer, it's pretty normal as a human, that unless
Is
you're
there a difference with this? So this would ultimately mean that there would be a difference between being and flowing, because in being, you embrace the moment, you
Mhm,
engage it, and however it shows up and you are in it.
mhm.
And then there's that other optimal in the flow state would be in working with others and you working with the outer world as well. Would that, as
Yeah,
opposed to doing the inner work, right?
yeah. Let's take let's take the other people out of the picture. Let's just really zero in on you and
Yes.
you and the degrees of you flowing you. It's not black and white. It's not on or off, right? The amount that you let your true self flow is infinite. Like, it's not just 1 to 100. And so we're trying to, with your feedback, help us discern those levels of coherence and resonance, like your altitude. Are you just sort of being you, or are you on fire? Like, are you, because when you're in a flow state, you're tapped into free energy. Like, you can do anything. You can move
So you
mountains.
got your head in the clouds and your feet firmly planted.
It's about harmonics, right? What is your harmonic frequency, and how high are those harmonics? Um, and it's a non-linear equation, right?
Mhm.
And it's tied also to your emotions.
Yeah,
And
and unique for each individual.
absolutely right. So yeah, you know, we're kind of getting into the esoterics of this, but what I'm wanting you to see with the mobile app, and even more so with the advanced compass feedback, is to discern the difference between gentle rising and these peaks. Like, you
Mhm.
know, and how long did they last? And how high did you go? And how did it feel? And, you know, what did you create in that state? And how satisfying was it? Or were you trying too hard? Right? Was it kind of nice? Was it amazing? Was it blissed out? Did you feel liquid love? Did you get an invention? If you're a musician, did you write the next hit classic song in 10 minutes? Right? Those are the infinite levels of what we're attempting to measure, because you don't want feedback that just simply says, "Oh, okay, yeah, you're there," um, arbitrarily or easily. You know, once you get really good at this, the sky's the limit. You just
Well,
keep.
that's where the esoteric bridges with the science, right? You've got the experience and the science to back up with the data, or at least how it's read.
Right. Yep. Yeah. So that's why we're embarking on kind of looking at these metrics from different angles, and eventually we'll be looking for patterns, and eventually being able to have without a human, you know, with AI, you can converse with yourself and
I
you know, figure it out. Um, so okay,
Exciting.
Victoria, can we look at you now? Okay,
Yes, please.
super. Victoria. Oh, hang on, pulling you up. Is there a date you have in mind, Victoria, since you're relatively?
Yeah, there was a date where I put a note in the journal. I can't find that note now, and I think it was like a few days ago that I can't see on the soul compass page, you know, like
Okay,
on maybe the 11th or something.
the 11th. Okay, I have the 15th. Yeah, let's go to the 11th.
Can you see where I make a note in the journal? I can't find the
I
note later.
can't. I don't know if Mohan can.
Okay. Maybe it
Let
was
me
the,
check
I'm
for the
not sure.
date.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something else for some of the new pilots. There, when you have a vertical line, there's a plus sign. If you click that, it opens a journal and you can make a note about something that happened that day. This looks interesting, Victoria. I'm looking at the 11th of January. So that was about 10-ish days ago.
Okay.
And, you know, just to kind of ground ourselves, looking at your heart rate, you're sleeping. Looks like you're wearing it while you're sleeping, starting at 1.
Mhm.
And then you woke up. Look at that. You kind of like see pretty easily where you woke up, right? 8:15-ish.
Mhm.
You can see your heart rate goes up and your heart power comes down.
Mhm.
Not to be alarmed, that's just how they go hand in hand, right? If your heart rate goes up, you're more efforting, right? And
Mhm.
there's less power per beat. So the frequencies come down. But here's what's so cool. Can you tell us what happened between the moment you woke up and 12:45? Because your heart power went up.
Yeah, I did a meditation. I think I did a long Dr. Joe meditation, and then I had a session with one of our clients. And
Okay.
then I was riding the wave after
Mhm.
the session because usually I get inspired to create more things
Yeah, you can see
after the
that.
session.
Yep.
You're right. It's on the 11th. I could see your feedback on the 11th.
Oh,
The
cool.
journal entry that
So
you
Yeah.
here
made.
we are.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, look, you can see, look how you did this pretty steep drop. Like that's a pretty steep drop in heart rate. And that's what's giving you this rise. And then you got active again, but you very steadily relax into your true self. You let it flow. See how it comes rising again. And a ton of different spikes here in HRV. Let's look at what happened in coherence. Do you remember the moment that felt the most important to document in your journal?
What I was doing, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was towards the end of a blessing of the energy centers meditation towards one of the higher chakras, I think like 7 or 8. And I felt like this energy coming out of, you know, the ether moving through my body, which I get into those states, especially in the higher chakras.
Was that in the evening you said? 7, did you say?
No, that was maybe like 9:15 or 9:30
Yeah, here we go.
a.m.,
Here
something
it
like
is.
that.
Yeah, so starting 9:15 is here,
Yeah.
30. So this was your window. That was your strong window.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see that's also, you know, you have like a big drop in heart rate. And let's look at coherence. So, and so here's really good feedback for us. Mohan, you see this. So when she felt the strong surge, we don't see coherence. And that's because, why is that? I guess because
Interesting.
some of it's dropping, it goes down and then up. 9:15, it's still dropping. Not until 9:45 does it start to turn up again. So there's a delayed effect, but even still at 9:45, we don't have a coherence bar for that moment. Despite, you see, this is kind of strange, Mohan. See, she's got HRV happening.
But at the
They,
same time, the power is dipping, so we want both of them to be parallelly going up. So
Yeah.
precisely on the straight point, the
only
power.
here.
It's not about like on that point. It's the power is dipping, and right next the
Then
power is going up, but the heart rate is dipping. So they both are like, just not perfectly synchronized.
oh, I
Like
see what you're
the
saying. Yeah,
coherence.
if you look at 945, her heart rate's actually going up, and this is rare to have heart rate going up and heart power going up. But I really want to make a note of this moment, because what Victoria is telling us, and I don't want to lose this valuable feedback, it was
Mhm.
enough for her to make a journal entry that this felt significant, right?
Yeah, it was like a Kundalini type of energy concentrated towards my higher chakras, like my third eye. That area, I feel it like vibrating, and I feel myself kind of elevating and floating in
Mm-hmm.
those moments.
Yeah, that's where we see a very significant spike on the SDNN, heart rate variability metric.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Not necessarily a coupled effect of having the heart power also, because this type of effect, like the Kundalini kind of an effect, can also be sometimes more energetic, like raising
Yeah.
the heartbeat as well,
Right.
Mhm.
and not so restful of a peaceful. So that
Yeah.
is what is making me interpret it differently, and not expect for the heart power to go up for all types of experiences if
Right.
they are
Mm.
positive. There are some of them that comes with a physical effect on our body, which is in a sense, it is like creating a stress, but it's not like the conventional stress, but it's like a perturbation to all the energy centers, to just pushing
Yeah.
them all up in
She's
our direction.
positively stressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see that, Victoria? So I like what Mohan's interpretation is, and it resonates, is that, and this is different, because usually when, there's a heart power rising, even though it's not significant at that time, your heart rate is also going up. And so it's energizing and causing your
Mhm.
heart to beat more.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
know.
not as,
Unfortunately, I had to wind down the meditation and get ready for the client session. Otherwise, I would have stayed there longer.
right. But look at the afterglow. Can you see what happened after you did get the
Yeah.
benefit? It may seem like a delayed experience, but this is,
Mhm.
like you said, so you were doing this thing and then you had to stop, but you kept going, right? Your
Yeah, I was
your
creating in that time. I think yeah, the client session ended at 11 or a little after 11. And
Okay.
then I usually ride the wave and get super creative after sessions.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Your
Uh-huh.
heart power was rising, and in that case, heart rate was actually going down. You were actually being restorative and replenishing and letting it flow without
Mm-hmm.
stressing you, without um yeah, I'm thinking also, Tim, I'm thinking of you, because sometimes when you go in deep meditation, your body will even start to vibrate and your
Yeah.
heart rate will go up, and it can seem confusing. So we have Tim's one of our advanced pilots, and he also came from Dr. Joe Dispenza. So
Oh,
that's,
nice.
you guys can see why this is kind of tricky for us, right? I mean, it's
Mhm.
not just linear math. We can't just go, I mean, we'd like to find a simple pattern, but it varies. Sometimes it's this Kundalini experience where, energy's coming in and it's really activating you. And other
Mhm.
times it's liquid love that just slides in without effort and without triggering your heart rate to go up. And we're trying to we're on the road to find out with your feedback, right?
Mhm.
Hey, Susan, I can add to that a little bit
Go,
too.
Tim.
Usually in meditation, when I'm moving energy between the energy centers or it's coming within me,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of holds the coherence down.
Mm.
And then after you have the energy flow through you within the next, half hour to 45 minutes, that's when the afterglow tends to come for me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
that's what we're seeing right here for Victoria. This is her total power afterwards, right? it just sort of, and it happens, I think, for Chris Coyne too. He gets this afterglow. It may seem like a delayed gratification. But I mean,
Well,
that's
you
what
can kind of see a trend in her coherence too, from 11:15 up to 12:45,
hmm
kind of an upward bar.
in her coherence. Yeah, right
Yeah.
there. Yeah, see that, Victoria?
Yep.
Tim's really good at reading these charts.
Mhm.
So when you, after the activation of energy surging through you, you then coasted. You're sort of at coasting altitude, right? You're just rising, and you're getting lots of
Like
these.
getting to the top of the mountain and then being able to
Wow.
coast down a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good analogy, Tim. I like that. That's a really good analogy. And, you know, a lot of athletes will go work out, but we think that the real benefit comes when, you know, after you've climbed the mountain and now you're coasting down. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's very cool, Victoria. Thank you. I really appreciate this. This is helping us fine tune our interpretation of how to give you feedback, better feedback, so that you don't discount yourself and not appreciate the moment that maybe led up to this benefit.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate taking the airtime to talk about this, and it's helping me get clarity about what practices help me. You know, I felt pretty synchronized most of that day. I had several client sessions and, you know, did a longer meditation in the morning, which I don't always do. So this convinces me that it's a good idea to start a day that way, because
Mhm.
you can ride that for a while. And I opened my app after when I made the note and I saw the three lines coming together.
Mhm.
I don't know if they were like super, super high when they were coming together, but they were all like, phew.
Great. Yeah, they were synchronized, right?
Mhm.
They were in harmony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
Awesome.
you, Tim, for your feedback too. I appreciate that as well.
Yeah, so do I. So Victoria and her partner Scott are based here in
Clifton.
California. I'm sorry?
I said Clifton.
Oh, Clifton. I'm sorry. Yeah. Sorry, we have a Scott Cliff. We have like, yeah, I got his name backwards. But these guys are here in
Yeah.
LA, north of LA, and I hope to meet up with them in person since they're so close. So
That'd be
yeah,
great.
it's so good. You know, I'm letting it digest as well, right? Because we want more than anything to articulate these moments,
Mhm.
these important moments that you believe something's happening that you want to capture, and
Mhm.
we want to um, connect those dots together, right? And make sure that the notifications and the tokens, because there's going to be different tokens for different experiences, right? Some
Mhm.
might
Yeah.
be the moment all that energy was happening, and then there might be a different token for the afterglow that happens afterward,
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
it's all valuable, and we don't want to
Mhm.
misinform or miss the moments that are that feel like the truth.
Mhm. Yeah. Absolutely. Where are
Okay.
you right now that it's snowing? Did you leave
Oh,
LA for a moment?
I'm gonna turn my just so you can see it, guys. It's so beautiful out. I'm in Idlewild up in the mountains.
Oh, okay.
And let me turn off my blur so you guys can just see it for a second. It's so beautiful out. I'm gonna go out and make snow angels. Right. I mean, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, gonna go out after this call. But I'm having fun. This is like really good stuff today, guys. We're going deep. We're kind of this is new. You
Hey,
guys are really
sorry, I just wanted to remind Andrea that I have her results ready. Please text me on Telegram, and then I'll send them over to you.
okay. Thanks, Mohan. Okay, who
Got
else? Tim, Birgit, you guys have any special days you want us to look at? Your
You can check mine on yesterday and Friday.
okay, let's do it. Let me pull it up. Yesterday and Friday. Okay, let's start with Friday.
Yeah.
Hi. Okay. Pulling it up. Here we go. So this is Birgit, also one of our first pilots. Oh, wow, look at you. Yours is always so fun. You guys, can you see? Look at her heart power, how elevated it is while sleeping. And, you know, there's like a little glitch, and she goes even higher. A very, very short dip, probably waking up, or who knows? No, that's in the afternoon. Maybe I'm going to let you tell us what happened. I mean, you are elevated even while awake. This is, see how rare this is, guys? When you're sleeping, it's elevated, but she clearly must have woke up and went even higher and then got physical. You can see it in her heart rate. Her heart rate's going up, but she's comes right back up. Heart power just surges and like huge surges. So tell us what happened. This is on the 19th.
That's Friday.
Yeah, is that Friday? Yeah, Friday. What happened Friday? How'd you do this?
In the morning, I just woke up and like get my daughter ready for school. So that was around 7 something.
Yep, you can see it right here. I mean,
And then I don't know, I was just preparing her
what'd you do? Turn on
like
the music and start?
breakfast, or maybe I turn on the music, I don't remember exactly. So yeah, and yeah, so I was just getting her ready for school, making her breakfast, and then
And look how high you are. You went above your sleeping level
yeah,
for hours, starting from 8 a.m. to 10:30, and then did something physical at 11-ish, right? And that's what caused your first rise.
yeah, I went for a walk
Mm-hmm.
around, or getting ready for going to my sports like Pilates class.
Mm-hmm.
So I was walking there through the snow, and it started snowing, like heavy snow,
And so you're
around 12 something.
okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And
So this is
the
effort, you know,
school,
a little bit of effort, right? In here, walking in the snow. It's beautiful, but it's effort. And
yeah, and then the sports class was from 12:30 to 1:30.
mm-hmm, which is right here. Guys, can you see that? It's real obvious. When you're working out, heart rate goes up
Yeah,
and heart power usually comes down.
yeah. And then I was kind of walking back home, doing some shopping, and
Yeah, you can see that. Just sort of
yeah, so
mundane effort, but look
I
at this.
returned home around 3 something.
Mm-hmm, right here.
Yeah. So, and then I was home with my daughter, and then I was reading a nice book in the afternoon,
I mean, look
like
at
a
this.
book.
Look at starting at 3, you really surrendered. You see how your heart rate comes
Yeah,
way down,
that's true.
starting at 3
That's true.
until
Yeah,
4:30.
yeah.
And that's this rise here, guys. See how it goes together.
Yeah, there's like lots of emotion going through my system.
Mm-hmm.
So, and by reading this book, like it's actually a book, like a friend of mine, she wrote it,
Okay.
and it's kind of reflecting what I'm experiencing at the moment.
Okay.
So I was just diving into this story and yeah, surrendering, crying,
Mm-hmm.
and afterwards I had a chat with another friend, and late in the evening I had this clear decision within my mind, like booking a flight to go and see the person I fell in love with last year. And
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah.
So later in the day, you were booking the flight and
I booked the flight on Saturday morning.
the next
Yeah.
morning. Okay.
Yes.
So let's look at the next morning. Let's go look at the next day.
Yeah.
Let's see what happened when you booked the flight.
Oh,
Right? Who knows? You know, it could be like a Kundalini experience. You get a lot of energy flowing and could be excitement. That's what oh, look at that. So here's Saturday morning. See how different it is, guys, from one day to the next? Do you see how different this is?
mhm.
It's really dramatic. Every day is a new day, and that's why when it comes to the rewards, we don't care about yesterday. You know, it's just every day is a new day. And
Mm.
so here's Birgit having a new morning, 9 a.m. Look at how active you were. You got active right away, pretty sharp rise, but then also a sharp lowering of your heart rate, and that's where your heart power starts to climb. Right at that time, you see that? Right as you start to come down, 11-ish is when your heart power starts to go up.
Yeah, there was the time I was in this booking process, like around 11.
What were you doing?
Booking the flight.
Okay, getting excited, really focused.
Yeah.
And look at that. We got some, that's where you had some coherence as well. Take these off. Right, 11:30, 1 o'clock. Those are your 10, 11:30, and 1, at least according to our simple math, but it is a work in progress, guys. This is what we're looking. Once we do start sending out notifications, we're going to look to you guys more for feedback and go, yeah, that makes sense, or no, it doesn't make as much sense because, you know, I actually felt better over here, right? This, that's what we're going to be looking for, is your feedback to help us improve these metrics to find the sweet spot. Because you can see starting at 11, that's when your heart power, total power is going up. And you did have some coherence bars, just but not like this one. You know, this one is at the end of the day, probably going to sleep at 10:30. Right?
Yeah, I kind of go to sleep a little later, like recently, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it's interesting, your day before had so much more dramatic heart power rise. Do you see how this day you're rising and it's good?
Yeah.
But the day before you rose and were above your sleeping levels.
Yeah.
And
so Friday I was just like going through a lot of emotions, and then by the end of the day I was like clear with, okay, I'm gonna just do it. And yeah, so
made a decision.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Made a decision, lined up with it, agreeing with it, not fighting it, and it shows agreement. Right? This is like showing, may not be like a spike, but it's showing concurrence or coherence or agreement with your decision, that you're in alignment with it instead of going against yourself. So cool. Well, we'd love to see your metrics on the day. When do you fly? When you go see your love?
I'm counting days already. Oh,
Okay.
I'm flying on 22nd, so I'm gonna see him on 23rd. So yeah.
Oh, good. So you're flying
Just go
tomorrow?
crazy.
Yeah,
Hmm?
you're flying tomorrow. Do you mind?
No, February.
Oh, February. Okay, so we have a month. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Birgit. Thank you so much for uh, letting us in on some of these more intimate experiences so we can improve how we look at it and the feedback.
Mhm.
Okay. Who would like to go next? Tim? Scott? Nope.
Can we look at mine?
Is that Scott? Was that Scott?
Yes,
Okay. Do you have a day in mind, Scott?
the 13th.
I love it. So specific. Of January, I assume.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Scott, here you are. Coming up. Scott, 13th. And look at you. Okay. What was special about this day, may I ask, before we dive in?
I had a really good meditation.
Whoa.
I think around 11:30. Feeling a lot of energy, a lot of love, appreciation, gratitude.
11:30 is here. 11:30 is here. I mean, it looks like you had a small drop in heart rate leading up to it. Looks like after the meditation or perhaps during, some rise in power, some HRV activity. What really stands out, Scott, is look how many coherence bars you have all day long, just spread out. You know, according to our original calculations, the highest ones would be at 11:30. Look at that. Right when you said you're meditating. Look at that. That's your first high bar, and it is high. It crosses the threshold of 70% that we're are going to start with. So that meditation would literally qualify for a token of gratitude and appreciation. And then in the evening, you had 3 more. Do you remember what happened that night, starting at 10? Or no, that's 8 o'clock.
Um,
8, 9.
Let me see real quick. I think I did another meditation that day.
I'm gonna scroll up and see what everything else looks like. Well, yeah, I mean, look, your heart power, you know, it didn't necessarily skyrocket, but that's not always the most important. You have this gentle rise on these 2 most notable. They're sort of gently rising all afternoon, starting at 3 o'clock.
Yes. I think the meditation did definitely help set the tone for that. And then I was watching some Dr. Joe presentation around 8 p.m. and did a short meditation at like 9:15.
Yeah, well, you got a lot out of those, right? You can see these bars at 8, 9, 10:30. And again, you know, these are to be developed, right? This is our first stab at it. And that's why going forward, it's going to be even more important in these calls where if you get a notification or a token at this time, is to let us know if that hit the money. You know, did that hit the mark? Was that the meditation? Was that when you were immersed in a Dr. Joe event that was really satisfying? Very cool. You can see, I'm just going to scroll around. I'm looking for other insights. But it's almost like your meditation just set you up for this nice gentle rise all afternoon and into the evening. Like that.
Okay. Yeah, and the other thing that was notable during that meditation at 11:30 was, I used my heart math monitor too, and it showed a really high spike on that. Maybe
Got
that's
it.
that green one on the left there.
Yeah, so at 11:30, that would be about right here. And that's right, you shared it with the group, right? You shared the heart math spike.
Right.
Mhm.
And that probably happened about 11:45-ish or somewhere in there between 11:30 and 11:45.
Yeah, I'm going to show you something now. I mean, because heart math is probably measuring something simpler than what we are. I'm just looking at, you see how we have 3 formulas here under heart rate variability and 3 different shades of green? And these metrics are what we use to calculate allowance on the mobile app. And so you may not see a spike at that time. But if we look at one metric alone, this SDNN, which stands for the standard deviation between peaks, we have what we're calling SDNN plus, which means, and I'm just guessing here, but the difference between this and heart math is just SDNN, up or down. The plus is the when it's increasing, like when your heart rate is actually slowing down and there's more time and space. And you can see, just looking at this one metric alone, which is an ingredient of HRV, you see at that time of your meditation, you do have like 3 spikes in a row here. You see that? Like that, this would match more of what you're seeing with heart math is these. Whereas our allowance is averaging some things out and trying to give you a more holistic view. But with the advanced interface here, you can kind of connect the dots, I believe, more with heart math.
Okay.
Because what we're seeing is, yes, you had what we consider coherency at 11:30, and the one element of what makes up coherency is this SDNN plus. It's also spiking. It's hitting the rails. You're hitting the top at that moment as well. We just happen to also be including in our definition of coherency your heart power, right? Whereas heart math, they're not. They're just mostly looking at the beats in the time domain. Sorry, it timed out. I'm just going to refresh. And Scott, you're an advanced pilot as well, right? Do you have a subscription to our advanced? Can you look at this on your own? Or not yet?
Not at the moment, not yet.
Okay, but that's okay. It's fun doing it with you, with the whole group. It helps everyone learn. But that's what I'd be looking for if you're comparing it with other apps like HeartMath. You can kind of still find the correlation here. We're just more than HeartMath. It's a very simple interpretation, and we're looking for the coherence with your heart power, right? We want to see heart power also rising at the same time. And the reason is you can get high heart rate variability. You can get heart math to elevate and even peak out by being physically really active and causing your heart rate to simply increase quickly. But we don't settle for just that. We don't think that's the truth. We don't end it there. That's sort of a good starting point. But you can see in this call how we're really going deeper into the differences in different experiences. Is there another day you want to look at? But I mean, I think what's pretty significant, you can actually see how many bars you have throughout the day, not just at 11:30. And you have a stronger one at 8 o'clock. And you said you were listening to Joe Dispenza then?
Yes, that's right about when I started it, and it was pretty inspiring.
Yeah. So if you're just in a state of surrender and inspired and really uplifted by content you're absorbing, that actually, according to our current recipe, was your highest coherent moment of the day. Was that
Yes, I think that definitely makes sense to me. I
good?
definitely felt that.
Yeah, got it. That rings true. Good, because that's what we're looking for. Is we may not have captured all the moments of truth, but we're expanding our breadth and formulas to see if we can capture more of them. And so it's good that we got that one. Do you have another day you want to look at, or is that?
The 7th? Do you have access to the 7th?
Of course, yeah. Let's pull up the 7th.
Yeah, I did an extended meditation then.
Yeah, let's see if we can see that. Because then you can compare and see the difference. And it helps us also in our, oh, wow. Wow, wow. What's really obvious, do you see it? Your heart power is elevated like all day long.
Wow.
When did you do the meditation?
That one was at like 2, I think 2:30, 2:45.
Okay. So here's 2:40 ish. You see, I mean, you're so elevated. It's pretty remarkable. You know, as you've seen other examples, usually the moment you wake up, there's a big obvious difference. But with you, it's like you just woke up on the right side of the bed and stayed elevated, right? And then you did a meditation and went higher. Higher than sleep, which is also very rare. And then only around 5:40-ish, just looking here at when your heart got more active in the evening, starting at 5:45, only then did it really come down. This is like what it looks like when you wake up, right? But then you went back up again. Can you tell us what happened that day? Since it's so strong.
That one I don't remember.
Amazing. Okay.
I'm trying to make notes as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, again, this is why we are looking to have this dialogue with people like you. Is according to our current calculation of coherence, it doesn't look as strong, right? But it does look. You said it's not a significant day, but your heart power was elevated most of the day. It's true that HRV did not, until the end of the day, cross the 100 millisecond threshold. But you had a really nice resting heart rate, like almost all day long. Really a gentle day. So maybe it didn't feel like as significant, and maybe that does make sense. Yeah, it's just a nice cruising day, right?
But if you scroll down, Susan, if
Yeah.
you scroll down, I
More.
think the total heart power is where we kind of like truly see the heart power.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like the above like the one where we have the individual components might
Mm-hmm.
not give us like a more of an exact version, because it looks like it's flattened
Mm-hmm.
throughout the day elevated, but it's because it's relatively 3 graphs are there in single
Mm-hmm.
window. But if you see
Yeah.
here,
Got it.
You can see there is more significant times of
Variation.
the day.
Yeah.
Yes, at
Got it.
different points in the day.
Yeah. So what Mohan's saying is, you know, when we look at the power spectrum, it looks elevated all day long with some ups and downs. And then we add these all up. We add all three of these components up and then scale it. And that's what this total power is. And now you can see it's not steady. It has more variation in it. Does that make sense, Scott? So when we add up the incremental frequencies, there is more variation going on than meets the eye. And that's why we have these different graphs, because the one graph, it looks elevated and steady all day, but in fact, there's some of the frequencies are going in different directions, and therefore it gives rise to more dynamic range when we add them all up for each moment in time. This is the way you'd use this, is to, like, if you did a meditation and it was amazing and you felt blissed out, we would want to hear from you and tell us, hey, yeah, that makes sense. That meditation, it was right here. And look, everything, you know, rose. Or this one here, this was when I spiked, and sure enough, my coherence was spiking as well. That's the kind of feedback we're looking for, is this accurately connecting your highlights of the day with the highlights on the screen. Okay, sweet. So it's been a very interesting call today. I feel that we got a lot more details than ever. We got a lot more precise and specific about this experience with these metrics, and sometimes it seemed to make sense and other times it didn't, and all of this is going into our design data bank. Are there any comments from anybody, questions before we're going to wrap up here? That was a lot for one day. Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the comments in the chat group, and I think we're getting towards the end here. Yeah, one Michaela said she has the feeling that Garmin doesn't accurately represent her actual state of how I'm feeling, and I agree, it doesn't. It's just looking at you as a physical body. It doesn't know how you feel. It also, it's focused on your stress, you know, and we're focused on anti-stress. Okay. All right, I'm just scanning comments, but feel free if anybody else has a question. Otherwise, we're gonna wrap it up for the day. Really exciting. I love all the new people who are engaged now. Yeah, it's getting real. Okay. That's it, guys. Much love.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Really appreciate you all. We're getting there. Bye now.